Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four podcast. Let's get right into this with big stories from week 2. We'll start with Michigan State's last-second defeat at the hands of Herm Edwards and the Arizona State Sun Devils, 16-13. What does this say about Michigan State's season this year? I'll let you guys go first.
Well, I'd first like to say there's no shame in losing to a good team like Arizona State, well coached. There's no shame in losing to a team like that on the road. But what there is shame in is having a 13-3 fourth quarter lead and losing to them on the road. That is shameful. They played terrible in the fourth quarter, and they did the same thing against Utah State. They attempted to give the game to Utah State late in the game.
Actually.
No,
they gave it away in the third quarter and came back in the fourth.
What this tells me is that no lead is safe with them. One, because their defense sucks. And two, they don't have the it factor to hold leads and be clutch at the end of the game. And I think that's going to translate into some bigger games later in the season against, Ohio State, Penn State. It won't be against Michigan because Michigan will choke. But I don't see them. Yeah, I think 9 wins is their ceiling with the way they've been playing.
I think it shows that they're just another team competing for second fiddle behind Ohio State in the Big Ten East.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Okay, Captain Obvious, thank you. Really appreciate it. We knew that at the start of the season.
You just can't praise that offense as good as you have, Mike, and then come out and score 13 points. I mean, that's... Even last year, Michigan, with who knows who as quarterbacks, could score more than 13 points on occasion. It wasn't the defense. If you give up 16 points on a road game, you should be able to win, in my opinion. So I think it was on the offense that game, not the defense.
Well, another thing is Brian Lewerke sucks. He threw a terrible interception against Utah State. And he threw an even worse interception.
The receiver
against
fell
Arizona
down.
State.
The receiver fell down.
On his back foot. That was terrible.
Have you seen half his touchdown passes? They're on his back foot.
I don't care.
And they're magical.
He makes
when it
bad
matters.
decisions.
He makes
very bad decisions.
His only touchdown was on his back foot, fading away. Darryl Stewart in the end zone. Miracle touchdown.
Sam Darnold.
All right, let's calm down.
She sucks too.
Let's remember, Brian Lewerke last year was number 1 in interception percentage in the Big Ten last year. So you can't criticize him turning the ball over.
So you still can.
All right, I'm going to get into this. All right, I knew the game was lost before it even started. Going out to the coin toss, guess who was there? Tom Izzo! Tom Izzo called the coin toss. They asked Tom Izzo, heads or tails? What'd he say? He said heads! Are you kidding me? Who says heads? You've got to be kidding me. And then he's on the sideline for the entire game. He's giving us bad luck. We have no chance with him on the sideline. Are you kidding me? I don't care that he's won a national championship. He's a choker. And he rubbed off on Mark D'Antonio today. All right? But that wasn't the reason why we lost. We lost because our O-line fucking sucks. Let's start with the center. The center got blown up about 10 times. He got pancaked about 5 times. I swear to God. I don't know what they're doing on offense. You can't run the football if you don't have an O-line. And they try to run the ball from the I formation. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
That was straight out of Michigan's playbook.
That's right.
I formation.
It was out of Michigan.
Did you guys run the play action on 3rd and long, too?
No, we didn't run a fucking play action. All right. And then, our offensive coordinator sucks. He's being paid. He's a poor man's Jim Harbaugh. Actually, that's a terrible example, but he's a poor man's Ryan Day. This guy doesn't know how to call a game.
Fastball, poor man's Ryan Stewart. Harbaugh.
No. So, what does he do? He knows we have a terrible offensive line. He knows our left tackle's out, so we have no chance. And what do? They try to run the football. I don't care what Mark D'Antonio likes to do. Listen, Mark D'Antonio likes these low-scoring games. Well, guess what? If you want to be a power program, you got to blow these teams out. You can't win by 3 points, and that's what they've been doing for 5 years now. But it doesn't matter. It's changed.
That's not a bad team, though. That's not a
bad team. Arizona State's a good team.
I understand that. You can roast the defense all you want. Yeah, they gave up 400 yards passing to Manny Wilkins, but they only gave up 13 points.
Manny Wilkins.
And Manny Wilkins was 4 of his last 14 at the end of the game. The defense did their job. But the mistakes, my gosh. Mark D'Antonio is a great coach. His assistant coaches suck, and it really shows on offense. The wide receivers, we're going to waste a year because we're too conservative on offense. We have the best receiving core since Tony Lippett, Aaron Burbridge, those type of guys. We have a solid tight end, top 5 quarterback, probably in the Big Ten, top 2 quarterback, I would say. And we're going to waste it just because we want to be conservative and we don't want to run the score up like it's stupid. Dave Warner, offensive coordinator, he's been here 6 years. He's had one good offense in 6 years. That was 2014. We've sucked on offense every other year because he doesn't know how to call a game. And don't get me started with Tom Izzo calling the freaking toss. What is wrong with the school? My gosh. You gotta be kidding me. All right, I've said enough.
So all this for losing on a game-winning field goal on a road game?
Exactly. And
Dude, if they get blown out, I don't know what you're going to do.
listen, we can beat Michigan. We're going to get absolutely destroyed by Ohio State because we don't know how to run offense against their defense. And we don't know how to stop their offense because we cannot stop spread offenses, even though we did a good job last game because we're a good bend but don't break defense. But that doesn't matter. We'll get destroyed by Penn State. We'll get destroyed by Ohio State. And we'll probably lose at Nebraska. So it doesn't matter.
No one runs a spread, though, in the Big Ten. Nobody runs a spread.
Yes, okay. You don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about?
No one runs a spread? What are you talking about?
I'm trying to get him mad.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm done. Tom Izzo should be fired. This is ridiculous. Let's move on. Clemson sneaks by Texas A&M 28-26. A&M missed a go-ahead a tying 2-point conversion at the end of the game. What are your reactions to this?
Alex, you can go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
It's not what I thought was going to happen. They played them a lot tougher than I thought. I thought they were going to go in, new coach, the nerves were going to get to them. They actually played them pretty tough. It was only a 2-point game. So I was surprised. I think last week I said they'd get absolutely blown out, if I remember right. I was a little surprised, but I think that's the biggest test they're going to face all year. So if they can handle that in a road environment like that, they're going to have no problem the rest of the season.
Well, you look at this game, and I want to take a look at the officiating in this game. Absolutely embarrassing. Texas A&M is driving down the field with a chance to go down and tie. And the guy fumbles clearly out of bounds. Not in the end zone. Clearly out of bounds. In every viewpoint, it's out of bounds. Not out of the end zone. And they call it out of the end zone. Virtually ending the game. And giving not really ending the game, but giving Texas A&M a less chance to win. They could have scored there, and then they could have scored again. But nope, the refs have it in the bag for this Clemson team. It happens every year. They have it in the bag for Clemson. And it happened again. They would have lost that game if they called that correctly.
So all that for a couple officiating mistakes.
It was a big mistake, cost them the game.
Mm-hmm. Luke?
I think there's events that lead up to it. It's not just down to one single thing, in my opinion. But
Luke, what do you have to say about this? Nothing? Okay. We'll get back to him. Texas A&M is a good football team. They are in the best conference in America. Clemson should be moved down to number 5 in the rankings. Possibly number 6. Because Oklahoma should be number 3. Ohio State should be number 2 with their 2 impressive wins over 2 good teams. You look at who should be number 4? I'm going to go with Wisconsin. Wisconsin, sure. Then Georgia should be 2. 3, Ohio State. 4, Oklahoma. 5, Clemson. And then 6, Wisconsin. Because Clemson, you gotta win. You gotta blow these teams out if you're Clemson. Because everybody knows Alabama would have blown out Texas A&M. Everybody knows that.
No.
What do you mean, no? Explain.
Clemson, it is not their fault that the referees have it in the bag for them.
What do you mean it's not their fault? That makes no sense.
Pay the referee.
yeah, Luke said to call him back, by the way.
Right now,
Yeah.
I thought it showed Clemson does have some weaknesses. Like if they face good coaches and just solid opponents, that could be good, but I don't know if it's great. That's the only thing I have on it.
Okay.
Also, I'll add one thing.
Okay.
Jimbo Fisher, his entire career has been a big game coach. Florida State, this is my conspiracy right here. Florida State plays Clemson in the ACC. He's learned over the years that Clemson gets all the calls, and now he's in the SEC.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Now he's in the
I know where you're
SEC,
going with it.
and they do the same thing to him. They do the same thing because he was in the ACC.
That's a
they have to have
terrible
it in the bag for
conspiracy.
Clemson.
That's so bad.
Nope, they always have it in the bag for Clemson.
That's awful.
Always.
Oh, how about Michigan State doesn't schedule Utah State again because clearly Brian Lewerke pass was called a fumble and it was not overturned when it was clearly a pass. Clearly a pass. And then and then a Felton Davis catch, which was clearly a catch, was overturned for no reason. So guess what? Maybe we shouldn't schedule Utah State again because Utah State gets all the calls. I'm telling you.
Do referees have a history of calling in favor of Utah State?
Utah State gets all the calls. They get all the calls.
They have a history of calling games in favor of Clemson.
No.
So does Rutgers. Rutgers get all the calls. Oh, that's a good point. Good point. Valid point, Luke.
Rutgers. We'll see if Rutgers gets the calls next week.
Again.
All right. Let's move on to Georgia and Penn State blew out their rivals, South Carolina and Pitt on the road. How impressive were these wins?
Not at all. Pitt sucked, so I expected Penn State to do that. The Georgia, I was very impressed with Georgia. I thought South Carolina was going to be a lot better than that. And Jake Bentley, just had no chance against that defense. So I was more impressed with Georgia.
Both sucked. Both South Carolina and Nathan Peterman's alma mater of Pittsburgh. Both sucked.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
I'm with Chris. I was more impressed with that South Carolina game. I actually picked them to win. I thought they were going to lose or at least be close. Yeah, Pitt was awful. That's not a good win. It's doing what you should.
That's a quadrant 1 win right there for Penn State. That was all I was thinking at the Michigan State game, is that this is a quadrant 1 win for some reason if we win this game. And we didn't win, but whatever. I'm going to start with Penn State. Okay, I was disgusted in Pitt, but not the team, their fan base. That entire place was Penn State fans. There's no such. You've never heard of a Pitt fan in your life. They're like Rutgers fans. You've never heard of them. There is no such thing as a Pitt fan.
It was pouring rain.
There were no Pitt fans there. You heard the stories. Penn State people bought season tickets to Pitt games just to watch this game. That's all they did it for. So now, about half the season tickets are sold to Penn State fans. Half the seats are going to be empty for home games. So that's great. And now to the actual game. I didn't actually watch the game, but I'm assuming Penn State dominated. So, well, that's an impressive win because Pitt, under head coach Pat Narduzzi, one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time. That's a tough team to beat. Georgia,
No.
I was extremely impressed with Georgia. They could just completely dominated South Carolina. So, I was impressed by both teams. Anything else on this?
They all sucked.
Okay. Let's talk about the SEC. The SEC has been the best conference in college football so far. What do you guys think about the SEC?
You just said it was the Big 12 2 minutes
Oh.
ago.
I did not say the Big 12.
Oh, you did. You did say that.
I
I do
did
remember
not
that.
say the Big 12.
Yes,
Yes,
you
you
did.
did.
Yeah, okay.
All right. The SEC is clearly the best conference in college football. You have three contenders there. You have Alabama, Georgia, and Auburn, and the only true contender we've seen in the Big Ten is Ohio State.
And Wisconsin.
SEC is overrated. Overrated. You have Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, LSU.
Mississippi State.
After that, you have garbage. Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina, Florida, Ole Miss, they're all Vanderbilt. They're all bad. Luke,
Wrong.
if they're garbage, then what's Nebraska, Indiana, and Northwestern?
Good.
Yeah. Duke. What beat Northwestern? Duke.
Duke's good this year.
Duke sucks.
Duke is good. Duke is a
No,
9-win
they're
team.
not.
Duke's a 9-win team.
Oh my
Duke's
God.
the fifth best team in the ACC.
I was extremely impressed with Duke and Daniel Jones. Now, you can laugh all you want. He completely outplayed Clayton Thorson in that game.
Well, Clayton Thorson got benched, so.
Well, now he's on the snap count. Okay. So, well, let's go through the teams. Alabama, contender. Auburn, contender. Mississippi State, contender. Ole Miss, contender. LSU, contender.
Calm down.
Texas A&M, contender. That whole West Division, except for Arkansas, is contenders. You can say whatever you want about Ole Miss. They blew out Texas Tech. And guess what?
Ole Miss is not a contender. Ole Miss technically can't be
Nope.
a contender.
They have guess what? Michigan starting quarterback would have been their backup this year. That just proves how good they are.
Oh my God, it's not true.
Now, they may have a bowl ban, but that doesn't mean
have a
they're
bowl
not a
ban.
contender. Well, what?
They can't contend for the title because they can't make it to the title.
No, they can still win the SEC. They're just banned from postseason.
Right? They're not a contender.
They are a contender, even though they can't get there. That would be funny if they finished number 1 in the nation and were left out. I hope that happens. Anyways, you look at especially the top 4 in the SEC West: Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, and LSU, and Texas A&M's a really good team. The East, you have Georgia, a solid team. Georgia's a great team. Kentucky's a solid team. South Carolina's a solid team. Florida sucks. Missouri's a solid team. Tennessee is amazing. Vanderbilt, we'll see them against Notre Dame this week, as Notre Dame plays their 3rd straight cupcake to start the season.
Oh yeah, I definitely had a cupcake the first game.
Well, they didn't have a cupcake their second game. They almost lost to Ball State.
Yeah.
Tough Ball State team. All right, let's move on.
Will we be going over the UMaine Western
No.
Kentucky game?
No, we won't be. You'll have to go to the CAA podcast to watch that.
There's not one of those.
Yes, there is. Okay. Impressive start for the Pac-12 and bad start for the Big Ten. Arizona State, Cal, and Colorado with big wins. Michigan State, Northwestern, and Nebraska with bad losses. Is the Pac-12 better than the Big Ten?
No, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. When did Cal? Where was this impressive win from Cal?
At BYU. Good
Oh,
win.
my God.
And home against North Carolina, who just lost to East Carolina.
Yeah, I did have them going 8-4.
You did have them going 8-4. That's true.
Well, better than Michigan. It is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Washington got dominated by Auburn on opening day.
No, they did not.
No,
USC.
They outgained Auburn in that game.
USC sucks.
Right,
Stanford
that's
is
true.
the only good team in the Pac-12.
Chris, let me ask you a question.
What?
What's Michigan's record?
1-1.
What's Cal's record?
2-0.
Okay.
Cal's better than Michigan.
Fair point, Luke.
Chris just has no comebacks to whatever Luke says. No comebacks at all.
It's absurd. Most of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is just absurd.
Yeah,
I have proved
you
every point I've made.
You picked UNC to go 8-4. How is that not absurd?
Yeah, I do expect him to bounce back and go 8-2 to finish up the season.
You probably picked Arizona to go 10-2.
Now I had them going 8-4 as well.
Oh my gosh.
Let's not worry about my predictions.
Okay, I remember Luke picked Kansas to win the Big 12, so I know I'm not
I
completely
think
off.
he was talking about basketball.
They won a road game.
Oh, that was a great win. Purdue lost at home to Eastern.
I actually picked Pitt to win the Pac-12, so.
Oh, interesting pick there. I actually picked Utah State to win the Pac-12, so.
Oh my!
I got UMaine winning the title, so
I mean, you look, it's BS because you look at the Pac-12, okay? You got Arizona and Arizona State. You got Oregon and Oregon State. You got Washington and Washington State. You got Utah, but no Utah State. I mean, what the heck? Why isn't Utah State in there? That has to be the next team that goes in there. Boise, no one cares about Boise. They'll put in Utah State. We need more Mormons.
BYU.
No, Utah State. I like Utah State better than BYU. Anyways, let's go through the teams again. Colorado, contender.
Oh my God!
Utah, not a contender at all. They're okay. They're the definition of average over the past 2 years, even though they were great a couple years before that. Arizona is awful. Terrible. They might be the worst team in the Power 5 this year.
relax.
Arizona State, contender. USC sucks. UCLA's going. I said they were going to go 1-11, and their only win was going to be against Cincinnati. So they're going 0-12 this year.
No. When Spade comes back, they will go. They'll have a resurgence.
They got dominated by Cincinnati. I don't want to hear about that.
That's because Spade got
Dominated. It wasn't even
hurt.
close.
Spade got hurt.
The North is just stacked. You got several great teams, including Cal, including Stanford, Oregon, Washington. Don't sleep on Washington State. Washington State will be motivated. They got a good win over Wyoming in week 1 and a great win over, forgot who they played, but it was a great win and nonetheless. So the Pac-12 is still not better than the Big Ten, but it is the 5th best conference, but at least it's separating itself from the American a little bit.
Mike, I have a question.
Yes.
Will we be covering the biggest storyline of the week?
No. Whatever
Auburn
you're asking.
Not covering their 63.5-point spread?
Well, the thing about that is, usually Vegas doesn't do FBS versus FCS teams games. I don't know why they decided to do this one. Because I guess they knew they could make money. But Auburn was up 42-0 in the second quarter and still couldn't cover the 63.5-point spread. So that's kind of pathetic. Okay, let's move on. The week 3 picks, as you can see, Alex and Chris are tied atop with 15-6. Luke is 14-7. I'm 11-10, but though my strategy has changed, I'm 4 games back from the lead. Let's go to the first game. Oklahoma at Iowa State. 12 o'clock ABC. Oklahoma's favored by 17.5. Who will win the game?
Oklahoma. Nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's going to win the game.
Yeah, they're going to crush that spread. That's a pretty low spread, in my opinion.
Chris Campbell, one of the best coaches in the first 5. He's going to get a big job next year.
They just gave him a big extension. Iowa State.
What?
Iowa State just gave Campbell a big extension.
I don't care. He's leaving. Oklahoma.
Okay. If you remember last year, Iowa State went into Norman and won. Although this is different. Iowa State lost some people on defense, and they were just so inept on offense last week. That game was embarrassing to watch. It was 6-3 in the fourth quarter. Iowa found a way to win.
Nate Stanley is nasty and went off.
Nate Stanley, who started the game 2 for 14, is awful.
The best quarterback in the country.
Anyways, Iowa State just cannot keep up with Oklahoma. Oklahoma will win. Okay, let's move on. Rutgers at Kansas. 12 o'clock. You can catch this game on MSG Plus and Fox Sports Kansas City. Kansas is a 2.5-point favorite. Who will win the game?
I am going to take Kansas because I was originally going to take Rutgers, but Kansas really surprised me and beat a pretty good Central Michigan team last week, and Rutgers sucks, so I'll take Kansas.
Nope, I'm taking Rutgers. Kansas is literally the worst Division I football team out there.
They beat Central Michigan last week 31-7.
They also lost to
don't care.
Nichols.
Yeah.
I don't care. Kansas all the way.
They've won like a combined 5 games in the past 10 years. I mean, they're horrible.
Oh, boy.
To be honest, nobody cares about this game, so I'm not kidding.
All right, you will get an automatic loss then, no matter what.
I'm taking Rutgers. I'm taking Rutgers. Chris Ash is going to lead them to victory.
No, it's too late now. I already have it penciled in as an L.
Rutgers.
Okay,
Rutgers.
fine.
Chris Ash. Chris Ash is the next Ryan Day.
I'm going with Chris Ash and the that quarterback who went to IMG Academy. He's nasty. He will win the game for Rutgers at the end.
All right. Hey, Mike, what's his name?
I don't know his name. Forgot his name.
Figurowski.
Yeah, whatever. Romanowski or... Nobody cares. Anyway. I will be tuning in on the Fox Sports app to this game. That's the game I'll be watching at 12 Eastern.
I
Okay.
will not be watching that game.
That's just unfortunate. Now for the game of the week, even though it's probably not going to be close. Number 12, LSU at Auburn. 3:30 Eastern on CBS. Who will win the game?
Auburn by a ton. Auburn by a lot. Jarrett Stidham is nasty, best quarterback in the country, and Auburn's going 12-0. So Auburn.
I take you saying this is the game of the week.
Okay.
Who are you picking?
Me?
Yeah.
LSU. Go Tigers. Go Tigers. As Oregano would say. And Orgeron. Go Tigers. That's the LSU Tigers, not the Auburn Tigers.
Oh, okay.
I am also taking them in an upset road win.
Wow.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
They had a great tune-up against Southeastern Louisiana. Tough team.
Joe Burrow's nasty.
They held them to a shutout. That speaks a lot about their defense. So
Okay.
That's what I'm picking.
I'm going to go with the Tigers in this one. And that's all I have to say. Okay, fine. I will actually pick this game. I got Auburn in a blowout. LSU will go back down to earth. They played a cakewalk Miami team week 1 and just showed how terrible Mark Richt is at coaching.
Miami's going 11-1.
Miami is going 4-8 this year in a tough Coastal Division.
You picked them to lose to the FCS team they played last week. That should be another loss for you.
No, they play Toledo. They play at Toledo. They play at Toledo this week. That's a loss. Probably should have picked that game, but it doesn't matter. They will be losing to Pitt. They'll be losing to North Carolina. They'll be like 0-7 by the time they play them, but they'll still lose to them. And Duke, 9-win Duke, lose to them. They'll lose to Virginia Tech. They'll get blown out by Virginia Tech, no doubt about it. And Florida State, okay, they'll beat Florida State because Florida State's the worst team in the FBS. But anyways, I got Auburn winning. Let's move on. We were originally gonna pick West Virginia against NC State, but that game has been canceled due to the hurricane. So we settled on Duke at Baylor. This is a intriguing game. Who will win?
Duke's gonna come back to earth because they're Duke, and I've seen enough from Northwestern. They suck. They barely beat a Purdue team. They lost to Eastern Michigan. So I'll take Baylor at home.
Well,
it'll be a big crowd, and they're looking to bounce back from their.
You won't be saying that when Michigan loses to Northwestern in a couple weeks.
Yeah, if they do, I will take back that statement.
Okay.
I got Duke. Coach K went to the sideline, and unlike Tom Izzo, he's not a choker, so Duke's gonna win.
I cannot believe they had Tom Izzo at that game. I still can't believe it. Okay, so I'm gonna also take Duke. Their quarterback's good, coach is good. I was extremely impressed by their first 2 wins against Army and Northwestern. Baylor went 1-11 last year. They lost. Now they did take a step in the right direction. They lost to UTSA last year and they beat them this year. But I do have Duke winning this game.
Yep.
Okay. Now this is, in my opinion, the game of the week. Number 17, Boise State travels to Stillwater, take on Oklahoma State, and Taylor Cornelius and company. Who will win the game?
How many game of the weeks are there? You already named 2 of them.
I was supposed to ask the same thing.
Oh, this is the real game of the week, though.
Oklahoma State, because they're a Power 5 team, and I don't like non-Power 5 teams.
Okay. That's ridiculous. When UCF blows out your favorite quarterback.
Oh, yeah, they blew him out.
Yeah, they blew it. Well, Stidham cost him the game.
No, he didn't. Stidham's nasty.
Threw the pick 6 at the end.
Nasty. He's nasty. Stidham's nasty.
Yeah, he's almost as bad as Mason Rudolph was.
Fair.
Who do you guys got?
I heard Kellen Moore's coming back for his 8th year of NCAA eligibility. So I'm going to have to take Kellen Moore and the Penn State Broncos.
Kellen Moore, who is now 92-6 as a college starter, is coming back. Alex, who do you got?
It was a toss-up, honestly. I got Oklahoma State. I don't think they can go into Stillwater and win that game. I just don't see it happening. Their defense is going to collapse. And
tough place to play, too.
Yeah,
let's calm down. You think it's a tough place to play?
That is a very difficult
tough place to play, huh?
That's top 10. That's top 10.
Right. That's why they went 4-3 in Stillwater last year, with losses to Kansas State, TCU, and Oklahoma. To say that's a tough place to play is a little bit of a stretch.
No, it is.
Nope. It's a stretch.
Yes, it is.
Anyways, I've got Oklahoma State winning because I am an Oklahoma State fan. I think they have one of the best coaches out there. He's a top 20 coach in the nation. What he's done with a subpar program is unbelievable. Now that that machine, that mediocre machine, Mason Rudolph, is gone.
Okay.
They can run it with Justice Hill, my Heisman pick, more. And Taylor Cornelius is a good game manager. I do like Boise State a lot, but I like Oklahoma State more. So Oklahoma State will win.
Yep.
Okay. SMU at Michigan.
No, Michigan will win very decisively.
Yeah, SMU is terrible.
Michigan will win.
I refuse to even call SMU a college football team after their performance against TCU on Friday night. That was disgraceful. That was disgraceful. Michigan by 70. 77-7.
I'm not, dude. I don't even care about that. They lost to 23 to North Texas.
Listen, North Texas made it to the CUSA championship game last year. Don't sleep on North Texas.
I am very asleep.
Well, you shouldn't be. SMU.
You're dead.
SMU sucks. Shea Patterson will throw for like 150 yards this game. But because Michigan will dominate, lesser competition, they'll run for like 500 yards or whatever. And everybody will get hyped up about it because everybody will say it's a good win because SMU was good in the 80s. Be like, that's a great win for Michigan right there. They were good in the 80s, back when they had Eric Dickerson. But anyways, let's move on. Houston at Texas Tech, another intriguing matchup. Who will win this game?
Houston at Texas Tech. I will take Texas Tech because Houston is a non-Power 5 team, and I don't like non-Power 5 teams.
We should just do a non-Power 5 team versus a Power 5 team every week. Like every single pick. We should do like Rutgers versus UCF.
I take Rutgers.
We pick Michigan, because Michigan's on an FBS school.
Yeah, exactly.
I got Houston. What are you guys talking about? Texas Tech is terrible.
Yeah, they suck. They really do suck.
No, they really don't. They're good.
They are awful.
Wow,
They are so bad.
They beat Lamar by 70.
They went 5-7 with Patrick Mahomes. They're terrible.
Lamar is a good. Don't sleep on Lamar. They're a good team.
All right, let's relax.
Well, if you have seen the Southland Conference podcast, you would know they were not very good.
I'm going to take Texas Tech.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was extremely impressed by Houston demolishing the worst Power 5 team in America, Arizona. I've got Houston winning this game by a couple touchdowns. Okay, number 1 Alabama at Ole Miss.
Yeah, Bama.
Gives fit to Alabama. Seems like year in and year out.
Yeah.
But Alabama has a big-time quarterback, which they have not had in years past.
But he will not be the best quarterback in that game.
Yes, he will.
He'll be the 3rd best quarterback in that game, actually.
Okay, let's relax. And Alabama's going to win, but it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah, no, Alabama's going to win, and it's not going to be that close.
No, bro.
Start to finish. Beginning to end.
Okay.
Alabama's winning, but it's not. It'll be like a 10-point game.
Well, I mean, like I said before, Tua is the 3rd best quarterback in this game because Tuamu's the best quarterback. Jalen Hurts is number 2. But it doesn't matter because Ole Miss, they're a good team. But unlike years past where they were just raking in all those 5-star recruits, they were paying them a boatload of money. They don't have those guys anymore. They all transferred. So I've got Alabama winning. Okay. Missouri at Purdue. And another interesting matchup. Purdue is 0-2 with a loss to a tough Eastern Michigan team. Who wins?
I've seen enough of Purdue. Picking Missouri. Good quarterback.
Who wasn't it? Luke that said Purdue is going 8-4 this year.
No, Missouri's going to win. It's not even going to be close. But you can't lose to Eastern Michigan at
Purdue
home.
is going to get the job done. Purdue is going to call
Boil her up.
They're going to run the
Boil her up. Boil her up.
Boil her up.
Boil her up. Yeah, they can boil her up all they want. I don't. Who's that guy's name? Whatever his name is, the wide receiver. It doesn't matter. Missouri is going to beat them by 10 points. It'll be closer than people think.
Yeah, because Purdue's going to win.
Okay. That's a bold prediction right there. All right. This is probably the game of the week. Number 4, Ohio State takes on number 15, TCU. The game of the week. Who will win the game?
I'm gonna pick Ohio State just because of how good they've looked in the first couple weeks and how Haskins has applied himself into the offense. It's going to be very close, and I'm unsure about this pick, but I'll take Ohio State.
I have TCU. They don't have Urban Meyer. There's no chance.
Oh, my gosh.
Ryan Day is better than Urban Meyer.
Oh my god.
Maybe game management-wise. Maybe.
Urban Meyer's been coaching them all week. Don't try to tell me he's not in on the headset during the game.
Headset gate.
Dude, he's probably creeping around in the locker room, too. I mean,
Okay, well, he's not. This isn't Penn State or Michigan. But, yeah. So Ohio State's going to
He's
win.
creeping around.
It's going to be a football score. Not a football score. A basketball score. Probably win by 60. TCU is basically Rutgers.
Oh my god.
okay.
I honestly think TCU will get absolutely blown out by Ohio State. I saw them destroy SMU, but they still committed 5 turnovers against SMU. Their quarterback is inexperienced, and Ohio State will eat them alive. I'm going to go Ohio State 59-20.
Jeez.
Let's relax.
No, I'm not going to relax on that pick. Ohio State will absolutely blow the doors off of TCU, who I had in the playoff, but I've already changed my pick. Okay. USC at Texas. Easy. This is an easy pick.
The overrated Bulls. I'll take USC.
Oh my gosh.
Mike, who are you taking?
I'm going to take Texas in this one.
Oh, good lord.
No, they're at home. They're at home. USC sucks.
Yeah, they do, but Texas is
Texas
worse.
lost to Maryland.
Maryland's a good team. They went to
No, they're
Kent.
not.
Nope, they went to Kent State on the road and won.
Oh wow.
A tough MAC team.
Yeah.
Chris, listen. What's Maryland's record?
Oh, that's enough, Luke. That's enough.
2-0.
What's their record?
2-0.
2 and a goose egg.
What's Michigan's record?
1-1.
And so Maryland is clearly the better team with an M as their logo.
Maryland has better wins too. Kent State is better than Western Michigan. And they went on the road and beat them.
Yeah.
So who you taking?
USC. I like their quarterback.
So that's three votes for USC.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I said.
Then again.
No, it's too late now.
Wait, how about this conspiracy theory? Tom Herman likes to go to the strip club.
That's not a conspiracy theory, that's fact.
Tom Herman is going to go to SB and beat them. Texas. The strip club.
Nope, you've already picked USC. You're not changing your pick.
Texas is going to beat the strip club.
Anyways, I'm taking Texas.
So am I.
What?
Next game.
Okay. Washington at Utah, the most boring game of all time. Nobody will be watching.
I will pick Utah in this game.
My gosh.
I'm very high on Utah, and Washington sucks. So I'll take Utah. It's at Utah, correct?
Yes.
That's a tough place to play.
You just
I will pick Utah.
You just don't like Washington.
Yep.
I'm shocked you went with Utah.
All those Mormons
Utah
trash talk.
Utah was formerly in the Western Athletic Conference with Boise State. I'm shocked you picked them. They were a former Group of 5 team. Nope, they were a former Group of 5 team. Why would you take a Group of 5 team?
Nope, they're not a Group of 5 team now.
They were a former Group of 5 team. And Urban Meyer coached there, too. Urban Meyer coached there.
I don't care.
Right. Ohio State also used to be in the OAC, which is a Division III conference.
Well, guess what? Oh, Utah was in it about 10 years ago. Actually, less than 10 years ago, like 5 years ago.
I don't care. They're in Pac-12 now.
Okay, then. When Boise State moves to the Pac-12, then you won't be able to talk anything.
You're right.
Okay,
correct.
then.
100%.
All right. What does everybody else have in this game?
You know,
Washington. It's not even really close.
Luke, who do you have?
Washington.
Okay, I've also got Washington because I'm not taking any upsets this week. That's what cost me last week.
Well, I took an upset, Arizona State, Michigan State, and that paid off.
Yeah,
I
well,
took Duke. I took Duke for crying
man,
out
I
loud.
took
That paid off.
Colorado was the only one that worked out for me. Okay, that is going to be it for this episode of the Big Four podcast. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you next week.